Today we are going to cover the top jury trials that have happened to celebrities in the 21st century. Buckle up, folks. You must follow the law. The law says
Glorious. Is it a lawsuit? Probably. Why not?
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Buckle Up. It's the Law with Attorney Larry Forman. Don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, folks. Today we are going to cover some of the craziest, most insane celebrity trials of the 21st century. Now, you may have wondered which ones are going to make this top list. You may know some of them, you may not know some of the others. Without further ado, let's begin. In no particular order, we're going to start with O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson, Larry, I thought that was the 20th century. Wasn't that the last century? Yes, the murder trial, not the armed robbery trial. You see, 13 years after his famous murder acquittal, O.J. Simpson decided to reoffend. He found himself back in court, and this time in Vegas. The trial happened in 2008. In 2007, O.J. Simpson, along with a few other individuals, went inside a hotel room to recover some items that have been taken from him. More specifically, some sports memorabilia that O.J. claims has been stolen from him. Well, that encounter quickly escalated as two of the men brandished guns.
You can steal my shit and sell it? Don't let nobody out of here.
And as a result, prosecutors charged O.J. Simpson not just with kidnapping, but also armed robbery. Now, his team very famously argued that he was simply there to recover his own property, therefore no crime has been committed. Well, guess what? The jury convicted him. O.J. Simpson was convicted of not one, not two, but 12 felony counts and was sentenced to 33 years in prison with eligibility for parole after serving 9 years. And that is exactly what happened. In 2017, O.J. Simpson was released from prison on parole. And for those of you who may already be aware, he passed away just a few months ago. Next, Michael Jackson and the child touching case back from 2005. Now, Michael Jackson, you all may remember, I was actually finishing high school at that time, so I was pretty young and was not following this case very closely, but I know a lot of you who may have been older have been following this case at the time. Michael Jackson was accused of molesting a 13-year-old boy. There were 10 counts against him. There were allegations that he gave the child alcohol, and there were other allegations against Michael Jackson. Now, his defense team claimed that this was taken completely out of context. It was motivated by greed, and there was absolutely zero evidence to substantiate that this happened. I remember one of the key factors that were argued back at that time were that Michael Jackson never really had a childhood of his own because his father made him perform at a very young age, and he never got a chance to play and enjoy his childhood. And as a result, as an adult, when he finally had the fame, money, and notoriety, and a little bit of time on his hands where he didn't have to practice 15 hours a day, that's where his child would come out. And that's why he enjoyed hanging out with children and watching them laugh and playing with them, because he himself, in his mind, was still a child. Now, I don't know if that theory holds credence. It seems viable. Again, I did not follow that trial to the T, but Michael Jackson was acquitted of all 10 charges, which is extremely rare, especially in a case as serious of a magnitude with a celebrity as this. So the fact that the jury listened to the evidence and acquitted across the board kind of does speak volumes about Michael's character and what may or may not have happened. But you be the judge. Let me know in the comments below what you think about Michael Jackson and his antics. Do you think he did it, or do you think he was framed just for the sake of money? Next, Martha Stewart and her insider trading. This was a case back in 2004. For some of you, a beloved home decorator and cooking show host, Martha Stewart famously was accused of insider trading That's right, folks. For those of you who may not know, Martha Stewart was accused of not just insider trading, she was also accused of lying to federal investigators about a suspicious stock sale that she has made in IM Clone Systems just before the Federal Drug Administration rejected one of its drugs, which led everybody to believe that she had some insider information as to why would she sell the stock right before the drug was rejected. Prosecutors argued that she received insider information from a broker and then tried to cover it up. Now, she maintained her innocence, saying that she sold based on a standing order, which is normally known as a option contract. But the case became a major public spectacle, testing whether celebrity privilege could withstand federal scrutiny. She ended up being convicted of obstruction, conspiracy, and making false statements. Ended up serving 5 months in prison and an additional 5 months on home incarceration, in addition to having to pay $30,000 in fines. And by the way, if you need a lawyer, call our office. If you've been in an accident or suffered as a result of someone else's negligence, car wreck, truck wreck, motorcycle wreck, doctor negligence, or God forbid one of your loved ones passed away, 1-844-774-HURT. Here's another one for you. Lindsay Lohan and her probation violations spanning from 2007 to 2013. During that 6-year period, actress Lindsay Lohan's promising career began to unravel amid a string of DUI arrests, probation violations, missed court dates. I mean, this woman was strung up on God knows what. She was repeatedly ordered into rehab and jail as judges lost patience with her lack of compliance. Her ability to follow orders during that period was just non-existent. She was just incapable of following the law and her judge's orders. She ended up serving multiple short jail stints, some rehab programs she had to attend, and she had to complete some community service as well. Finally completing probation in 2015 after nearly a decade under court supervision. Next, we have the first Harvey Weinstein SA trial from 2020. The once powerful Hollywood producer was accused by dozens of women using his influence to coerce or assault actresses over decades as a producer in his field in Hollywood. In his 2020 New York trial, prosecutors focused on 2 specific victims and detailed a pattern of predatory behavior and abuse of power by Weinstein. The defense claimed the encounters were consensual and that Weinstein was being targeted by the #MeToo movement, which was gaining steam at the time, in part thanks to Amber Heard, who we will get to just in a few seconds. Weinstein ended up getting convicted of R and SA acts and sentenced to 23 years imprisonment. He later received an additional and separate 16-year sentence in Los Angeles. And I remember going to at least a couple of days of that trial because his trial in LA was happening at the same time that Masterson's first trial that ended up with a hung jury was happening at the exact same time as Weinstein's second trial in LA. And I was lucky enough to attend, like I said, very briefly. Now we come to my favorite trial on this list, and that is, of course, none other than a Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard defamation trial. The trial that has essentially put this channel on the map because I got lucky enough to have absolute exclusive jurisdiction over the contents that were happening in the courtroom at the time when the whole world was watching and there was no media inside the courtroom because media was not permitted pursuant to Judge Ascarati's order. So I, having to sit or have somebody sit for me in the line overnight, I was able to make it inside the courtroom and report on what had happened, particularly on the things that the audience couldn't see, i.e. the jury. So if you have not seen my Amber Heard Johnny Depp content, it's all over my YouTube channel. Feel free to check it out. I even have footage of me waiting in line for hours and hours on end and streaming and dealing with the crazies that had come out to watch the trial, both in support of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Of course, as you all know, Johnny Depp sued his ex-wife Amber Heard for defamation over the 2018 Washington Post op-ed, where she described herself as a victim of abuse. The case, which was held in Virginia, in Fairfax, turned into a media circus broadcast live to millions worldwide. Both accused the other of domestic violence, presenting explosive evidence and emotional testimony. More on the side of Johnny Depp than Amber Heard, I would say. Public opinion largely sided with Depp. Well, I wonder why. While the trial raised questions about credibility, abuse, and the social media's influence on justice. Now, this gets me to this day because there was no social media influencing the jury. That was simply the people speaking out. And sometimes when you are on the losing end, you like to describe this exposure as harassment, when the reality is you just don't like the truth being spread about you. That sounds like a you problem. The jury awarded Johnny Depp $10 million in compensatory and $5 million in punitive damages, which was reduced to $350,000 by law since those are the caps in Virginia. Now, Amber won on one of her counterclaims, and it wasn't even anything that Johnny has written or said. It was his former lawyer, Adam Waldman's statement in the papers talking about Heard, and she won $2 million. So essentially offsetting Johnny's $10.35 million verdict to an $8.35 million judgment. And both filed an appeal, and both ended up settling later in 2022. This one is fascinating. Britney Spears and her conservatorship hearings, spanning over a decade and a half long, starting in 2008, ending not that long ago. This one is fascinating to me, folks, because this is one of the only times that I know in recorded history that public perception has applied so much pressure with the hashtag Free Britney that the courts ended up actually doing something about it. Now, granted, it took years of consistent pressure, but to this day, we don't know, as the members of the public, whether or not Britney's conservatorship was indeed justified, or was it just a ruse to keep her under lock and key and to keep her under control. Her mental health and her sanity appear questionable at best, but she has been released. So what happened? After a mental health crisis in 2008, we all remember Britney Spears shaving her head, she was placed under a conservatorship, giving her father legal control over Britney's finances, work, and personal life. And what began as a temporary arrangement stretched over 13 years, despite her continued career success. As Spears testified in 2021, she revealed claims of forced work, forced medication, and restrictions on her personal freedom. Public rallied behind her with the hashtag Free Britney movement, demanding accountability. And finally, in November of 2021, Judge Brenda Penny terminated the conservatorship, restoring Spears' full independence and prompting reform discussions in conservatorship law. Don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, and of course, comment below. Tell me what you think. Do you think Britney's arguments were justified? Should the conservatorship have been maintained against her, or was she imprisoned in her own body? What do you think, chat? Let me know in your comments below. Now, this brings us to 2023. Tory Lanez shooting Megan Thee Stallion trial. Now, we did not cover this trial, although I was aware of its existence at the time that it was happening. In July of 2020, rapper Tory Lanez was accused of shooting fellow artist Megan Thee Stallion in the foot after an argument outside a Los Angeles party. Megan testified about the trauma and backlash she faced from fans and the media. The defense claimed that the shooting was accidental and blamed inconsistencies in her statements. The case became a flashpoint for discussions about violence against women in the music industry. In December of 2022, Lanez was found guilty on 3 felony charges and was sentenced the following year to 10 years imprisonment. Next up, we have Donald Trump and his civil trials spanning from 2023 to the present year, 2025. At the time, former, now current, U.S. President Donald Trump faced multiple court cases, ranging from hush money payments to alleged election interference and business fraud. His 2024 Manhattan trial became the first criminal trial of a former American president. Prosecutors argued that he falsified business records to conceal payments that influenced the 2016 election. Trump maintained all charges were politically motivated, turning court appearances into campaign rallies. And his famous mugshot, as a matter of fact, from the arrest in this criminal case, is currently hanging in the White House, as he is the 47th president of the United States of America, 45th as well. As of 2025, Trump has been convicted in one criminal trial and found liable in civil fraud and defamation cases, with millions in penalties and, of course, ongoing appeals. Now, although the president does enjoy a lot of immunity, especially as a sitting president, there is no escape if he is found liable for damages to pay to the victims that he allegedly caused damage to. Next up, we have Alec Baldwin and the Rust shooting. This just happened last year, and I also had the pleasure of being in New Mexico during the very, very short-lived trial. What happened? In 2021, actor Alec Baldwin accidentally shot cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of Rust when a prop gun discharged and had a real bullet in it. Prosecutors later charged Baldwin with involuntary manslaughter, alleging negligence in firearm safety. Baldwin's defense argued he was told the weapon was cold as they handed the weapon to him during the shooting of the scene inside the little barn, and that others failed in their duties. The trial, which was held in July of 2024 in New Mexico, ended in Baldwin's essentially acquittal. It was a dismissal by the court. The reality was that the prosecutor, and by happenstance her name is also Morrissey, hid evidence. She withheld evidence from the defense because there was a witness who came by and stated that he was in possession of some bullets, potential live ammunition that he has found on the set of Rust. And upon discovery that these bullets may be useful in not just the trial of Alec Baldwin, but also Hannah Gutierrez, who was the armorer and was convicted, who is actually out on parole after serving 18 months in prison for being the armorer on the set of Rust and providing the bullets to Alec Baldwin. Morrissey, in her infinite wisdom, decided to conceal intentionally by taking the bullets and putting them in a different file to where they could not be found, and upon the defense's request for discovery, they never received those bullets. When the judge discovered this issue, she immediately granted a mistrial and a dismissal of all charges for the blatant violation by the prosecution in the Alec Baldwin case. And last but not least, this list would not be complete with at least one crypto scandal. And of course, I am talking about SBF Sam Bankman-Fried and his fraud trial on FTX. Crypto billionaire Sam Bankman-Fried was accused of defrauding FTX investors and customers out of billions of dollars through misused funds and secret loans. In 2023, in Manhattan, there was a trial that exposed a web of deceit, poor oversight, and shocking financial recklessness. Former colleagues testified that Bankman-Fried knowingly, with intent, diverted money to cover trading losses, essentially a Ponzi scheme. The downfall of FTX devastated global crypto markets and eroded public trust in digital finance. A similar thing happened to the founder of Celsius, by the way. I believe he just took a plea deal. There was no trial in that case, but he also defrauded his investors of billions of dollars, and by calling his firm safer than a bank when he was trading extremely recklessly and extremely dangerously and using and misappropriating his customers' funds. And he's also currently serving time in prison. Now, as far as Sam Bankman-Fried is concerned, in 2023, in November, he was convicted on all 7 fraud charges and conspiracy charges and was sentenced last year in 2024 to 25 years in the federal penitentiary. These trials defined celebrity justice in the 21st century, a mix of power, fame, tragedy, and accountability. From pop icons and presidents to billionaires and actors, each story shows that no one stands above the law. And that's why you have to buckle up. It's the law. Which case shocked you the most, viewers? Comment below, subscribe as always, and don't forget to like this video. Stay tuned for more true courtroom Stay tuned for more true courtroom stories that shape our war. Wow, I can't talk today. Stay tuned for more true courtroom stories that shape our world. I love every single one of you. I hope you learned something, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, everybody.